there, my name is Jade Stokes. I am from New Orleans East to be specific. I still live in New Orleans East. I am a Scrum Master for DXC Technology. Scrum Master is someone to help serve the team, remove impediments, a development team as they develop software, right? We help encourage them, we remove blockers, we get them going. We work with them on a people level to ensure that they can be successful. So before that, I spent many years at AT&T as a manager. I decided to transition into tech and high tech, and I did that by attending several different boot camps and learned as much as I can. What I would like to say is that I know there's several different stereotypes around people who work in tech. I work in tech and you can work in tech. Every skill that you have, your perspective, everything that you've been through is needed in tech. Those companies need you. The city of New Orleans needs you to be in tech, okay? So be encouraged. Be courageous, be interested in a career in tech. It is life-changing, okay? I want to leave you with this. Technology is for everyone to own, to create, and to teach. Be well.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Arbery. I am from Shreveport, Louisiana. I live in New Orleans. I am a senior Scrum Master with DXC Technology. I started my path as a hardware technician with AT&T. From there, I transitioned over to the software side, doing numerous boot camps and certification classes. From there, that really helped me to become the Scrum Master I am today. One of the key things of knowing about a Scrum Master is that they're a servant leader. They ensure that the development team is always having the tools and resources that are needed to them so that they can be successful in all of the things that they're trying to do to bring out a good deliverable. One of the reasons why I branched off into STEM was because I really wanted to see more people that look like me. I have a passion of wanting to see women of color in leadership, women of color sitting at the table making the decisions in technology, because our voice does matter. One of the biggest things that I would tell all of the young girls is that you don't have to be a super nerd. If you love to talk, there's a job here for you. If you love to work with people, there's a job here for you. Just bring yourself, because yourself is what is needed to be successful in this industry.
There he is.
Here's the dream team.
Look at you guys. Look at these brilliant Black people. I love it.
Yes.
I'm so glad, Michelle has had this event. It's extremely important. During this time, I think we are really on the precipice of really strong change in our city. For so long, we've leaned on hospitality and industry and tourism, as our protein industry. It can't really be sustained that way. We need another industry to really step up. And technology is one that is continuing to grow. It is one that has many opportunities, and we need it here. So I'm thankful for Michelle. I'm thankful for you all that you accepted this opportunity to speak. This is my personal network. Right?
Yes, yes.
We came through the trenches together. We transitioned together.
For real. Yeah, most definitely.
So, we really did. So I'm really happy to be speaking with you. I'm glad to give this perspective that we have. This is our lived experience. So we're not talking from theory or assumptions. We're talking from what we actually did. So I think that's important. I think we miss that sometimes. I want people to really understand that we have gone through this. And at the end of this, I want to offer up, our information. Get in touch with Michelle, and Michelle can connect us so that we can talk to anybody who wants to listen about what happens and how do you transition. But before we do that, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let's start with Mr. Eddie down at the bottom there.
First off, I'd like to thank Michelle Jackson for putting this event on. This is an awesome idea, and it's very timely and very needed, particularly for our communities, um, because there is a great opportunity right now. The iron is hot right now, as they say. So, yeah, it's definitely important that those of us who, as Jade said, has lived this, it's definitely important of us for us to take on the responsibility of getting out into the community and sounding the bullhorn. Thanks, Jade, for sending the invite as well. And it's good to see Anastasia, and great to meet Dominique as well. So my name is Eddie Smith Jr. I am a senior software engineer at a company called JB Hunt. It's a trucking, logistics, and supply chain management company. Um, Prior to that, I was at GE New Orleans Tech Center, which was my first full-time foray into software engineering. Prior to that, I was blue collar. I had worked for 5 years as a mailman for the United States Postal Service in a small suburb just outside of New Orleans called Metairie. And yeah, so I went to a local coding school, coding boot camp called Operation Spark, which at the time borrowed their curriculum from a very well-known boot camp based in San Francisco called what is it? Hacker School.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's how it fresh out the frying pan into the fire.
Yes.
That's how I gained truly competent entry level software engineering skills, and walked out of completion of that program and earning that certification right into an entry level position at GE. So it was the network was strong, everything was cool. So that's a little bit about who I am, and how I got where I am.
All right. Miss Riley, why don't you let us know who you are?
Sure. I just want to say, like echoing what Eddie said, thank you so much, Michelle, for putting this event on, and Jay for inviting me to be on the panel. It's a great opportunity to speak and to show how we are non-traditional technical people, and we're thriving and we're surviving and we're solving real world problems, So just a little bit about myself. My current role right now is I'm a senior technical product manager / product owner at Baker Hughes, which is an energy technology company. Before I got that role, I was in GE's oil and gas DTLP program, which is a 2-year leadership program that every 6 months you do a different role. So I did different roles in software development, UX, UI design, working with our sales team, working with our supply chain team. So again, you're really good view on how a company works overall. And then prior to that, I was an intern at GE Oil and Gas. If you ever went to the French Quarter Festival app, I led that development for the iOS version in 2017. And then prior to that, I worked for a production company in New Orleans. So I worked on different events such as Essence Fest, Lollapalooza. And then prior to that, I worked in pharmacy because my degree is in chemistry. So I wanted to be the pharmacist of the family. So I worked at the pharmacy. In between trying to figure out the transition from being a chemistry student and working in pharmacy, possibly going to pharmacy school, and then now working at Tech, I did one boot camp back home in New Orleans that taught me Ruby and Ruby on Rails. And then after that, I did another boot camp that was taught at UNO that taught me about Java and databases and professional skills and how to be public speaking. And then then I transitioned to GE, and they were like, "This girl's doing a lot of stuff. We need to hit a leadership program." So this is where I am right now.
All right. Thank you, Dom. Next, and not the least, Anastasia.
Last but not least.
Last but not least. Of course not. No.
Hi, I am Anastasia Arbery. I am a senior Scrum Master / senior program manager for DXC Technology, going on almost 3 years now. Before that, I was with GE Digital. I was a Scrum Master. I was actually the Scrum Master for the French Quarter Festival project. back in 2017. And before that, I did a boot camp where I was able to meet Dominique as well as Eddie, and it just magic happened. I was a hardware technician for many years with AT&T. And I've done some odd things. I was a nanny, I've done Uber, all this stuff. You got to hustle sometimes to kind of before you get there. But I would have to say that this is exciting. I really thank Michelle for setting this up, for our voice to be heard to people, because you never know who needs to hear our story and know, just for their confidence. And of course, thank you, Jade, for hosting our panel. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Yes. So, we all, were, pretty bit past college age when we started to transition. What led to this decision to pursue tech as a career? What sparked in you to say, you know what, I need to learn something new. I need to be doing something else. What led to that decision?
The heat. If I could,
listen, that's the answer. Yes.
If I could really just, cut out all the noise. For me, so a little background. I come from a postal family, so many my parents, many of my aunts, uncles, a lot of my family did the career thing at the United States Postal Service, and use that as a springboard to get into whatever entrepreneurship or other things they wanted to invest in, and paid great and was stable for them raising their families. Yep. And did great. But I just felt like, the deal with blue collar work in America, the way the capitalist economy is set up, you can make a lot of money, but you got to be on that clock. So your work-life balance may be thrown off if you have other interests, or if you have kids, or if, and particularly for the mailman thing, what I was dealing with was I could see my future in the older employees, which, not to knock them at all, right? But you're trading off your body. So over time, there's wear and tear on your body. And so I just started doing some research. I was I had a high technical aptitude already from trial training, college, school, and things of that nature. And just my interest was always like, I'm a musician, so sing, songwriting, producing, and all that. And I mean, I was the guy who would, I had a small home studio set up. And when my computer went out, instead of buying another computer, I bought a new motherboard and replaced it myself. And I just taught myself how to do that, right? So I was that guy. Tech industry just made sense in that way, because it spoke to some of my gifts and skills that I had already identified. So one day, a young lady sent me a Facebook message by the name of Jade, asking if because I had been competing and placing, if not outright winning, hackathons. And I would put it on my Facebook and all that. And the young lady said, I heard about you, so can you help a friend of mine in a tutor, Java? And I said, yeah. And lo and behold, this friend was Anastasia. So Anastasia was in a coding boot camp, and we'll talk about this later, but the thing about some of the boot camps, as we talked about before, is the support isn't always there. So she needed some support. So I stepped up, and I mean, after we would meet at the library after my work shift, right? And she was much further along than she thought. She was way better at coding than she thought she was. She just needed she just needed the little edges. And so I helped round out the edges, and she improved greatly with the program. The program reached out to me, wanted me to then tutor their other students who may have been having problems. And I started doing that part-time, all while a mailman. So that's when it kind of clicked in my brain that, okay, now I need to make this transition, right? I'm helping others who are in the process already making their transition. I need to make this transition. And Anastasia actually told me about Operation Spark, which was the other boot camp in town, besides the one she was attending, her and Dominique were attending. And I looked into it and I just said, listen, I'm going for it. And that's kind of, but yeah, it was the heat. It was the conditions and the reality that as a mailman, that's what it's going to be. You can make a lot of money, but you're trading off your body and you're trading off your time. And so the idea of work-life balance, I'm a guy, I have a lot of interests. I have a 6-year-old son. So he was even younger at that time. And just the reality that, you know, I want to have a little bit more free time than what my current career allowed me. And the reality that, you know, I had greatness within me and I just had to harness it in a certain way that spoke to me, spoke to my base core, who I am, you know, my core personality and my core characteristics. So that's what it was.
What about you, Dom? What made you want to pursue it?
Eddie says the heat. For me, it was the pressure. So before I got into tech, I have this degree and I'm not using it. And I'm making $12 an hour at a production company. And I had the rubber hit the road. Either I want to go to pharmacy school, or I'm going to use my degree or figure out something else. So I reached out to my organic chemistry professor, Dr. Gallo, and I said, hey, I got this bachelor, what am I supposed to do with this? He said, have you ever heard of something called computational chemistry? And I said, I don't know anything about that. So I researched it and I was like, the computational part is really interesting. I mean, the chemistry part is cool or whatever, but the computational part is really, really cool. And that's when I started figuring out that all of these programming languages that you can do things. What's a Windows operating system between what's a Linux? So I was getting all this. And I was like, well, what is this? This is great. I like this. I like this. And then I started Googling and I saw that there was, like, when you look at a traditional programmer, they don't look like Eddie. They look like the total opposite of Eddie. So I was like, okay, it's a field that is very interesting. You're solving problems, and there's not a lot of people that look like us in this field. Let's be completely honest. So I was like, maybe I should try this out, and I really enjoy it. It's very critical. It's a lot of thinking that you do. And I was just excited about it, and it's just the possibilities of knowing that I can be somebody in this field and make an impact. So I was like, yeah, I want to do this. This is great. I want to save everybody with tech. Yes. So yeah, that's for me. It was the pressure. I had to figure out either it was going to be go to pharmacy school and do something I don't like, or let's explore something that you could really, really like. And I really love this industry, and I'm glad I took the opportunity and learned a little bit more about it.
Good, yes. Anastasia, what about you?
So when I was a hardware technician, I was really good at it. But in fairness, oddly enough, like anything I've done, I've like felt like I was really good at it, but there was never really a passion. I mean, I was a kid, and I remember like my dad got us like a computer, and his cousin came. His cousin was in tech, and he was a software developer. And he helped me hook up the AOL and everything. And I just started like fixing stuff. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But it was interesting because just because I was good at it, there wasn't a passion. I was like, I want that passion. And kind of fast forward a few years, a really close family member of mine had MS. And I was looking at a Facebook video of this artist who had MS, and she hadn't been able to physically like write her name or draw in years. That's how deteriorated it gotten. And someone created this software that linked to a machine to go on her hand, where in the first time in like 10 years, she was able to write her name. And I remember sitting there like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a part of that. I literally want to be a part of a team that changes lives. Not to say that you couldn't change lives, you know, fixing network connections and whatnot, but I was like, I felt like software was the heart of that. And I was like, I need to know more. And so, you know, I started that journey thinking that coding was the only way I could do it. And Eddie is very gracious, but I am not. I mean, I can make an ATM machine program work and stuff, But I was
And that's enough.
but I was just like, it was crazy because I remember, and we'll get into it obviously more talking about the boot camp. I remember thinking like, I need to be in this environment. I need to be in this culture, but I'm not going to do it being a developer. So what am I supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? And so, I reaching into what you got. I love to talk. I love to meet people. Even when I don't love to meet people, I'm still really good at putting that face on like, hey, we're friends. You know what I'm saying? And so I use that. My mom and my grandmother used to talk about, girl, you're gonna be the next Oprah. And so I use that gift to apply to my everyday life now. And it's a complete blessing that I'm able to have a financial gain from just talking to people and helping people and making something happen in the background. And even though I'm not the one like coding the program, I'm making sure that those developers are getting what they need. And I'm making sure that the business team is not putting the unnecessary pressure. So that, and then there was it's that joy. And so I was like, yeah, this is it. So I was excited that I was able to find my passion before I turned old, which is, believe it or not, that's and so yeah, that was that Facebook video sparked it to give me to know that was an avenue that was available to me, and I just started to use the tools that I had available to me to pursue it and to hone it and make it what it is now. So yeah.
Okay. And I remember all of that, all of everybody's transition. It's really interesting. We know of the traditional way. Usually somebody in tech has always had an interest in tech, and they had some kind of high school that taught them a little bit about computer science. And then they went to college and matriculated through and got a degree, got a STEM degree, and was hired. But there's different ways, right? Going to college is still a privilege. People don't really look at it that way, but it is still a privilege. Everybody does not have that privilege. Everybody doesn't have that time in their life to dedicate to just going to school. People have different responsibilities at different ages. And also, not to even mention the cost of going to a university. So let's talk a little bit about boot camp and the boot camp experience of learning these skills. And before we get into the question, I want to say from my personal experience, in boot camps, one of the things I tell folks is that, a boot camp is not necessarily a technical boot camp. It's not necessarily unlike what we think of as a military boot camp. To succeed in it truly, you have to isolate yourself and truly immerse yourself in the culture, in what you're doing. And so I heard a brother on a panel earlier I think his name was Russell, talking about how you need people around you supporting you is extremely important. So let's talk a little bit about your boot camp experience, Eddie. Let's start with you with Operation Spark, right?
Yes, operationspark.org for those interested to learn more. I ate, slept, dreamed, lived code for that duration of time. It's the academically, it's the most difficult, easily by far the most difficult thing I've ever done. More difficult than college, more difficult than anything else I've done. Because it's so intense, right? It's basically, as you said, it's like a military boot. Hours are long. It's like filling a bathtub up with a fire hose as far as how much information they throw at you and how quickly it moves. So it was to a point, different boot camps are structured differently with the curriculum. But Operation Spark was they started off part-time, and then as you progress through the curriculum, the last 4 months or 3.5 months is hardcore immersion. And that's where I had to part ways with the Postal Service because I couldn't work and do that at the same time. I remember talking to my mom, and she's like, I knew you were serious about that program when I didn't see you for Thanksgiving because you didn't come get gumbo, and you love gumbo. Like I literally, my Christmas, New Year's, my Thanksgiving, all that. It was I mean, it was 13-hour class days, 6 days a week, plus all the assignments you had to have completed on time in order to continue. And it was pass or fail. It was sink or swim. At the time that I was in the immersion program, the graduation rate was like under 15%. Like, a lot of people would drop out or have to restart. It's extremely intense. But if you, the reward of that on the other side, what you're doing is you're cramming years of schooling into about 6 to 9 months, right? And the really, really cram part is that last 3.5, 4 months of immersion. And the reward of that is that the great thing about the coding boot camps is the curriculums are tuned specifically to what's needed in the field right now. So I was surprised to see that when I did graduate and did get it at GE into the work world, that I was much more prepared for the projects that GE had going, as far as the tech stack, the technological tools they were using, and their software development lifecycle. I was much more prepared and had hands-on experience from my bootcamp learning than a lot of my peers who were entry level from four-year universities, which is why now you're seeing a lot of the four-year universities partner with coding schools, established coding schools, to have their own hybrid bootcamp, right? Because it's much easier for a bootcamp, for some reason, to tune their curriculum and change their curriculum than it is for some four-year universities to change their curriculums, because there are government regulations and board of regents and all of that. So it's a long, arduous process for a university to tailor what they're teaching and how they're teaching it and still have accreditation than it is for a boot camp to just change like that based on the trends of the market. So that's the reward, right? And I mean, I've been reaping the rewards ever since, 3 years now. And so all of us have. And so that's the boot camp experience. It's tough, and you do need that support system, right? You just needed it, and so you need it. So from my parents to my life partner, she was amazing throughout that transition, and through just the encouragement. My best friend, he was amazing. I remember one night I got a boot on my car outside of Operation Spark School building. It was uptown on Camp at the time I was attending, and I just let the it slipped my mind. I was so engrossed in the work at the time. I just let the meter run out, and the boot got me, and the maids got me, meter maids, and I had to call my best friend. It was like $120, and he was like, "No problem, you'll pay me back." But that's the type of support you need, right? Like, I was riding my bike back and forth at one point, and my bike got stolen, and my girlfriend came by and picked me up, no problem. Like so you need that community of support. You definitely need it. Because it's going to take every bit of that and then everything you got, right? So that's the bootcamp experience, and that's kind of like the pros and cons versus the traditional path. And as I said, the curriculum piece is the most impactful piece to me. Just looking back when I first got to GE, and it's like, okay, well, my thesis project at bootcamp was Angular with Postgres database, so on and so forth. And I get to GE, and the project that they put me on is a front end Angular project with the Postgres database. I'm like, oh, this is like, I know this, So whereas some of my peers, they just graduated from UNO or Tulane or wherever, and they were like, I've never worked with this before, and I was like, sheesh, really? And so that's kind of like the power. The nimbleness of the boot camps is the power of them, of the curriculum. So I'll get off my soapbox now. But yeah, to answer the question.
Listen, to get through a boot camp, it is all about sacrifice. I can remember watching you walk out. We were in Spark, and there was a break, and you had your uniform on, and you were limping out to go get a break. And I remember I can still see you. And it was hard. It was intense, and we were like our brain was about to ooze out your ear. But you had worked all day. We both had, and then that evening we went to school because we understood how important this was.
And I'd be breaking every traffic traffic law just to get to the building after finishing my shift on time from Metairie to, I mean, flying down 610.
Right, right. So, Don, what about you? What did you learn in your boot camp? What was your experience like?
My boot camp experience, just like Eddie, I said, this is it. I have to do it. This is going to be my life. I'm going to eat, breathe, love code. And so I just dedicated all my time to it. I would, while my family's out having fun, I would be at the kitchen table. I would be at the library. I would be at a car, anywhere. I just need to code. I need to code. With that experience, I did miss out on a lot of things, but like Eddie said, the reward was is that it led me to finally be an intern at GE, because the part of our program was that we had to make a certain grade, and the program feel comfortable with you saying, okay, Dominique, you can walk into GE and be that and get an opportunity. So I was just working towards that. I wanted everybody to come along and be towards that goal, so I would help out a lot of my peers in the program. I was just laser focused, I didn't let any distractions. I just told myself every day before I got in my car, like, I gotta do it. I gotta get it. So my experience, it was great because in the program, I met some really great people. One of them is Anastasia. Anastasia is my best friend. And I would not have made it through that program without her. Like, there has been so many times that I was like, you know what, this may not be for me. This is too stressful. I can't handle it. I just want a hamburger and French fries. I don't want to code anymore. I just want a hamburger and French fries. I don't want to code anymore. But we made a pact with me and Kenny and Ken, and we were just like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna lift each other. We got this. And that support system came with that program, and we're still good friends to this day. I talk to Anastasia like all day, every day. So, but we're good friends to this day, and so that support system helped. And so the boot camp was tough, but it was worth it. And I just want to do a quick story. I never forget, and I tell people all the time this story. I never forget when Anastasia and we were on the same team together for the French Quarter Festival application. And GE made us go second line down the street. We was all happy. And I'm like, my mom and them going to use the app. And we were just so excited. And we went to, my mom and them. And we went to, the GE tent, right? Remember, Anna? And we were looking at food. And I'll never forget. And I don't want to get all emotional and stuff. But I didn't have any money. Like, that program, they gave us we was in that program from 8 to 5 every day, and they gave us like a $400. It was like very low stipend, but it was just enough to get us through. And I didn't have any money, right? And and my friend, we went half on some fried chicken and some greens from I'm just gonna keep it real. We went, and you know what? That moment there, ever since then, going through that boot camp, sacrificing, not going to parties, not hanging out with my family, my friends as much, then getting the opportunity to go to GE, we're soaring. And then they were like, this girl needs to be in a leadership program. And then after that, 2 weeks later, I'm in Detroit. After that, I'm in New York. I lived in London because of this. It's the sacrifice. So I don't want to say that to scare y'all that it was a lot of work that I put in, but it paid off. I got stamps on my passport for being a woman in tech. You hear me? So I don't want to scare y'all, but
on their dime.
Yeah, on their dime.
Right. Yeah, because DTLP. Yes, the GE DTLP program pays Absolutely. Well. It compensates well.
Very well. You just show up and you do great. And I say that to say, if you want it, you put your mind to it, you work hard for it, you eat, breathe, code. Every day you wake up, hello world, every language, right? Start it off, hello world, every day. You want to be in product management like me? Learn the software development lifecycle. Get your PMP certification. Do what you have to do. Talk to other product managers. I just say that to say, do the work and it will pay off. And that's all I have to say.
Yes, for London. Yes, because Dominique was in London and we were in London too. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
On the
Absolutely.
microphone, baby.
The come up was real. The sacrifice is real, but the come up was real. Anastasia, what about you and your experience?
First of all, let me tell you, it's hard to come after Dom now because I feel like, Lord, don't cry, don't cry. I remember sharing that chicken plate and just we was like, it's gonna be all right. We was literally like, yeah, man, wow. So, child, the boot camp, that phrase, I'm gonna I'm gonna tear you down to bring you up. That, yes. For me, I was always so good at everything I did, even if I didn't really want to do it, if that makes sense. Like, I would do something and I'm like, oh, I could do that. Jobs. And this was the first time in my life, I was in my late 20s, that I embarked something that the minute I walked through, my charismatic and my charm wasn't enough to, it was like, I had one of the people of the program said to me, they pulled me to the side and they was like, you know what? This might not be for you. And I was just like, okay. And so I think about that sometimes because I'm like, what if I listened to that and believed that and pursued their goal of she's not, you know what I'm saying? Not even knowing fully what I could do in this industry and how I could make a change if I just stuck with that phrase, I thank them for saying that though, because if it wasn't for them saying that, it wouldn't have pushed me to the next level. Of course, the good part of it was the connections I made. Eddie, Dom, Kenny, Ken, all the people that were there to support me that, and even my own friends, one of my really good friends, she used to call me every day. I was exhausted. And she'd just be like, okay, girl, I'm just trying to make sure you're okay. And it's so crazy because no one in my personal circle really knew that. My parents, my mom would be like, girl, I never talk to you anymore. And I'm just like, Mom, I don't even want to talk to myself. I am on zero. And being in that environment and still getting support from, friends and family, even though they didn't know what I do. I don't even think, I love my daddy, but I don't think he knows what I do.
Listen, they
he's like, you scrub something.
But that's so important, right? That that's a great point, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, letting everyone know tech is an entire umbrella of career paths.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a software engineer to have great job security and be in high demand and get passport stamps on the company's dime, right?
Yes.
So that's because I didn't know what a QA was. I didn't know what a lead tester or automated tester, what all these different paths are, UI, UX, user interface, user experience designer. I didn't know what a Scrum Master was, or a technical product manager, or a technical project manager. And so it wasn't until I got in the industry, but the true benefit would have been had I known that world existed right prior, because then I could have done my own research and chosen my own path if there was just more awareness about what it's kind of like a bubble. It's like a tech bubble, and people automatically think Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. And if you're not one of those guys, you don't fit in the tech bubble. But that's so not true. So that's why many of our peers and our friends and our family members, they kind of don't really know what we do. They're like, he's good with computers. He does something with the computer. I don't know. Because,
the lack of representation was I'm telling you, when I grew up, I knew literally, like I said, my dad's cousin was a software developer. And, I remember my uncle, my mom's brother, he did graphic design and stuff, but there was no real exposure to it. So for me to say, okay, this is I worked with colleagues that have said, I had one colleague, he's awesome. He told me a year ago, he was like, I got into tech because he was like, I broke my leg when I was 12 and I was at home by myself with the computer and I started learning code. And I was like, what? You was doing that at 12? I was like, okay,
Hey.
well, where did I fail? You know what I'm saying? But no, like, and so, just ramping up with that, it's crazy because I think that, because the boot camp is so intense, like our boot camp was 8 to 5, and it was 8 to 5 at UNO. And if you was late, you was going to hear about it. And you know what I'm saying? And it was crazy because, we had different areas of the boot camp. We had, of course, the immersion part, which was the Java. But then what really kind of helped me keep going, honest to God truth, was, so we used to have breakouts where we used to do like public speaking and grammar, and like, so they could teach you how to do emails and stuff. But I was a G at that. So when the public speaking part came, hold my mic. Like I literally, like every presentation that we would do, people, like let me tell you, they didn't want me on their team to code, but they want me on their team to present, baby. And so it was just like, and so for that, I said, well, if I'm so good at this part of the boot camp, then there's got to be something for me. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be a role for me, because you can't just be, the thing about it is that, we forget that, like, when you have a gift, a gift is only supposed to be to one thing, one profession. No, if that's a gift, it don't matter what you do. You could be a chef, you could be a programmer, you could be a Scrum Master, you could be the president, whatever. If you have that gift is going to be there,
And Anastasia,
So, yeah.
I'm going to pause you right at that point, lady, because I feel like you have closed this in an incredible way. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Dominique, Eddie, Anastasia. You all are such a testament to us being aware of those opportunities. We're already ready, but just the awareness and you all having an incredible network like you do, I wish we could package this for our community and get more people into STEM. That may be an idea, y'all. I'm just saying, this network, this bridge, maybe to get into the boot camps. Just throwing that out there. But thank you all so
we
much.
can talk about it. It's an idea.
All right. I so appreciate all of you for being here today and sharing your stories, sharing this network. What we've got coming up next, guys, we're going to